All right. Wepa, everybody. Aloha Friday. Welcome to this edition of Aloha Friday Live. Thank you for joining us today. If you're joining us from LinkedIn, YouTube, Parade Deck, Facebook, everywhere, thank you for being with us today as we bring to a close, a culmination, a close out Hispanic Heritage Month. We are so happy to be hosting Raquel, Raqi, Flores. Oh my goodness, it's been a long time coming. I was the benefactor of being on her show not so long ago. Thank you for having me. And now we return the favor with this
Oh my
fiesta.
God. Una fiesta con sabor for sure. A lot of flavor infused in this. Well, thank you so much, Enrique, for having me, my brother. You know, I admire and I love everything that you do, what you're about. And yes, it's an honor to be here. I love it. I love it. I love it. It was like running from one event to another. And it's just so inspiring to see how the community comes together. Not only just to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, but in the efforts, of unity and combine just everything that they're doing out in the world to impact positively. So I'm happy to be here. Just happy to chat with your audience.
Outstanding. And folks are like, hey, is that Waikiki? Yes, that is Waikiki in my back. But I'm not going to lie. I'm in Orlando. And that's just the beauty of green screens. But I would say my second home, Oahu, where I spent most of my adult life on that beautiful island. And obviously, the actual reason why Aloha Friday Live is called Aloha Friday Live. So thank you, Lion, for being with us today. And I just pop that up there. Yeah, that's how I feel every time I think about Hawaii. Raqi, we've been connected on LinkedIn for a while. We had an opportunity, and I'll be talking about this book here shortly, to collaborate on a book. Wonderful project led by Adriana, our good friend,
Rosales, yes.
and a blessing, also a Air Force veteran. But tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and what you're working on. Because you're like, hey, I'm sweating over here. I got to go.
Oh my God, no joke. So, full disclosure, you guys, it is the last week of Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. So, as you've seen, if you followed, so many of us are celebrating across the country, across the world. And so, there's no exception here in Houston. But I just literally got back from a Cup of Joey. So, shout out to y'all at the Ion in Houston, Jesse Martinez, Joey Sanchez, Adrian Leal. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this fantastic, phenomenal event, which was the Tejano Tech Summit in 2023. So I was like, hey, yo, Enrique, I don't know if I'm gonna make it in this Houston traffic, so I'm gonna try to make it to our live. But thankfully, I'm here, and like I said, it's an amazing thing. But yes, it's so many different, and y'all, pardon me. I don't have my human kids today, but my feline kids, they like to pity patter back there, so don't mind them. But yes, it's just so many events that are going on right now. I have many things to many projects, actually, many collaborations and partnerships that I have in the back end. And so it's pretty interesting to know and see the growth of so many different of our friends, and the routes that they're taking, the avenues that they're going to, and the industries that they're going to. So I love it. And you mentioned the book. We had the honor to collaborate in that, and it was just 100 fantastic individuals talking about their story. Thank you, Adriana Rosales, for that opportunity. Latinos 100. It was my first publication. It's like, yay, celebrate that! I'm so excited. And it's again, you have to go back to really figure out what it is that you want to do, your passion. And if you're passionate about representing your culture and portraying it in the best way as possible, then why not? If you're not hurting a single soul, you might as well do it. You just put yourself out there and have visibility, and never forget though your roots. I think that's really important. I know you and I talked about that, Enrique, when you were on my show.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm going to bring that cover up as an overlay now. This is the Spanish version of our collaboration. What's beautiful about this, it's not, if you could see all the names on there.
Beautiful.
My wife was able to take advantage of this as well. So she's
Yes.
listed as one of the co-authors, but a wonderful project
Hmm.
led by Adriana Rosales to give Hispano the opportunity to be authors, right? In this case, sometimes first time authors, second time authors, but even more importantly to that, right? Best selling authors, international best selling authors. I mean, there's so much benefit from that project alone. And I really,
Mhm.
really appreciate her opening the doors para nosotros que no tenemos tanta tanto fuego on the outside, right? But we have the
Yeah.
opportunity to share some of our life, and then more importantly, for forever, right? These things
Yes.
reside as publications where our future descendants can look back and say, "Hey, ¿qué estaba haciendo mamá Raqui?" you know,
Yeah,
back in the day, and
exactly.
you can look at the wealth of knowledge from each one of those authors as they share their life, their struggles, their
Mhm.
overcoming, and make it a little better and maybe a little easier para
Mhm.
todos aquellos que vengan en el futuro. So, if you have not
Exactly.
noticed, I'm throwing Spanglish out there. You're gonna be hearing a lot of that because we're doing a closeout, folks. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, like, uh, me and Raqi were talking about, what does closeout mean to Hispanics? Because I'll
Mhm.
tell you what, uh, we're not gonna stop partying.
It ain't stopping right here. No, it's just getting started. That's what I say.
Was like you thought. But no,
Yeah.
there is a timeline where we do put a close to the month. October 15th is that for us. Today, I do want to take the time and mention October 13th is the Navy's 248th birthday. And so happy birthday, Navy. All my fellow sailors out there, men and women, doing God's service. Happy birthday. And as well, look how good God is. My youngest son turns 12 today. How does a Navy man have a baby at the Navy birthday? So
Aw.
it's a wonderful celebration in our home, not only because of the service, but also because, hey, my son turns turns
That
another
is
year today.
fantastic. Well,
Um,
let me
let
tell
me
you
see
congratulations.
this.
Let
Oh, thank you, Florin. Thank you for being with us. A lot of guests today. Thank you so much. Thank you from India, and yeah, that's right. We better get that Spanglish dictionary because
We need
it's
to
gonna
we
happen.
no, you know what we need to do? We need to design a new Spanglish, revise it, a new dictionary because things are changing.
Hey, so para a todos aquellos que, para que sepan, yo soy de Puerto Rico, de una ciudad o a municipality called Ponce, down on the south, second largest municipality in Puerto Rico. They dubbed us the Leones, right? So if you see a
Mm.
lot of lion in my backgrounds or in my writings, that's inspiration from Ponce. I was raised in this little barrio called Los Chinos. I'm not Chinese, pero le dicen Los Chinos. Don't know why. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Mhm.
But so that's my heritage from the island of Puerto Rico. Raqui, share a little bit about you.
Claro que sí. Bueno, para un saludo ante toda mi gente latina, un beso y esperemos que estén celebrando al 100% estas festividades del mes de la hispanidad. Creo que nosotros como comunidad somos somos aliados y nos queremos mucho, aún teniendo diversidades en nuestras culturas y diferencias de cada país, pero al final siempre nos unimos con el gran amor que tenemos el uno al otro. But to say that I am originally from El Salvador, as you guys can see, and that is the smallest country in Central America. It's roughly the size of Massachusetts. And but what we have in size, like we're so small, we make up in our grandiose personalities. The way we just I don't know, we just love people. We're very humble, we're very loyal, and we're hardworking. So those are definitely some of the aspects and perspectives that I love for my culture and that I try to take and take it in the future and instill in my kids. And but yes, El Salvador. I love it. It's where I was born. I came here to the United States when I was 9, and Houston has been my second home for, gosh, for the last 30 years. I already aged myself there, but I'm 20, y'all. So I love it. I have a birthday coming up soon, so I'm just like, yay, I'm gonna be 20. I'm just kidding. But yes, so El Salvador, it's in my heart, and I really just love taking some of the aspects of the teachings that I growing up from there, all the I guess my experience, my lived experiences from El Salvador, and how to turn that into a positive and educational platform nowadays to inspire that future generation, to leave a legacy for my girls. I have two beautiful girls who are bicultural, biracial, Dominican, Salvadoreñas. You know that is fire. It is un fuego. And so we have to make sure that we do our due diligence, and it's a responsibility to leave them something they will be able to carrying that torch of inspiration, inspiring the future generations. So yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I tell you that there is so many differences within the Latin community.
Hmm.
Y no sabemos, we understand that some of those things make us stronger. And that, when I was talking about not too long ago, how diversity in the Hispanic community has actually prepared us for world, I won't say dominance,
Hmm.
world exposure, right? We can move about the world and quickly understand the other culture or other perspective because we're raised that way. I mean, the
Yes.
Caribbean alone, right? When you talk about the Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and then you move into the states. There's a lot of Hispanic influences, all in the Caribbean, all up and down the East Coast. They
Yes.
say that they get Orlando had the second Puerto Rico. For and I'm living here. I understand how they can
Hmm.
come to that conclusion. But you mentioned Texas, right? So
Hmm.
um, Texas is mostly populated by a Mexican, right? Because
Mexican descent.
it used to be Mexico. There you go. And until they split that up, but we share another thing, and it's that nice little flag over there on
Like,
the
it's all twisted. My cat twisted
yeah.
it.
But we spent some time in Aggie Land,
Hmm.
College Park. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's College Station,
Hmm.
and just love the A&M community and how
Yep.
they look. I've been to many colleges and have not felt more at home than at A&M. It's amazing.
Say that again. I mean, I I definitely, that is deep rooted in my blood. Like, I bleed maroon, no joke. When people are like, "Oh, you're an Aggie," I'm wearing my Aggie earrings. Like,
There
no
you
joke.
go.
Yeah, no, I love A&M because it not only provided me the education, right? My time there, I was there for 10 years, y'all. I did not want to leave College Station. I did not want to come back to Houston because I loved it so much. And then you may be wondering, but why is it that you love it so much? So going back to my story, I'm a first generation Salvadoran here. I am the first one in my family to go to college, and a full ride. So I did get a scholarship, for academics and honors. And it was, the first time that I visited College Station when I was 18. And I said, oh yeah, this is where I'm coming. Like, there's no going back. This is where my life is going to be dedicated to. So I loved just going into that campus and feeling that I was embraced. It's like a warm blanket. The Aggie spirit and the Aggie community are just something that, we say this, from the outside looking in, you can't really understand it. And from the inside, looking out, you cannot explain it. You can't simply explain the Aggie spirit. If I meet another fellow Aggie and on the street or something like that, you already immediately, it's like a sisterhood or brotherhood. And it's carried, and it's evident. It's really, you can see it whenever you go networking. At the event that I was just there, earlier today, I met Aggies, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, give me a hug. Like, it's that deep rooted love and respect and admiration that we have for one another. And it could be all different industries, we'll find a way to collaborate and work together because that's just the way it is. So I definitely equate it to how we are in the Hispanic community, in the Latino communities. We have our differences and key differences that really differentiate us and make us stand out and make us unique. But at the end of the day, es ese cariño, ese respeto mutuo que nos tenemos, that respect and that love that we have for one another, just because we are Latinos, and that is what binds us.
And I tell you, this is a funny story about my time at College Station. So I'm
Yeah.
going through an entrepreneurship course, veteran centric, and you get to fly in, you get to be part of Aggie Land and all that. And so I'm going through the cadet area, right? And there's this big old
Yes.
dining facility and all of that. And I'm going through, and I'm like, man, I recognize that ring. And I'm like, where did I see that ring before me coming here? And one of my this is my favorite, one of my favorite commanding officers. He was my last commanding officer. And up until then, I had not seen an Aggie ring. But then I start thinking about him. I said, hold up, that skipper had a ring just like that. So I get on the phone and I'm like, do you look where I'm at? That's what I tell him. Look where I am at. And I took a picture. And he says, what in the world are you doing in College Station? And
Yes.
lo and behold, I this, one of my favorite officers of all of my service time was an Aggie, and I didn't even really dig into it. And now it's just like, no wonder, no wonder
Yes.
he was so great.
Yes.
But I'm gonna throw some things out here. Tanya says hi.
I love you,
Hey,
Tanya.
what's going on? And then
Yeah.
thank you for being with us today. So it's just like you said, uno se encuentra ahí o se encuentra con otro que tiene la misma, the same background,
Mm-hmm.
especially Aggie.
Mm-hmm.
Those folks, they connect like I have never seen. They
Yes.
support like I have never seen. And there are
Yes.
some great organizations out there que hacen casi lo mismo, pero this is beyond. I could not explain, right? I could not explain it. I'm just happy that I'm part of Aggie
Yes.
World, and and just it's just great. So,
Yeah.
Raqi, you're talk. We talked about the book.
Mm-hmm.
You're involved in other things. um, there's two things in particular that I would like to highlight today, which
Mm-hmm.
is this group, and I see a couple of supporters here. Right? This group that you're part of, and then what are you working on? Because you mentioned hey, I'm out. I got to fly.
I'm
So
out like
right,
right
yeah.
after
So
this.
so tell us about
Yeah.
this group. It might sound like a dog somewhere. But and then what you're working on.
Absolutely. So, Enrique, yeah, no, I'm like I said, thank you so much for working with me because I'm like, estoy bien, ¿cómo se dice? Necesitada en este momento. Everybody just wants a piece of Raquel, and they're like, come here, come here. But it's that's the beauty of when you start branching out and really start making an impact. As a community, as a leader, that is the most important thing. That's when you're really doing something and that your message is resonating. So I'm happy. Thank you for the opportunities that everybody's giving me. So to answer your question, yes, yes, this community, and I will say it has been life changing for me. I've been a part of what's called the Hounds of Business. And I know if you heard the Hounds, I know, Enrique, you know about it, and many people have heard about it. But if you haven't heard about the Hounds, where you been? I'm just saying. But we are such a community of entrepreneurs, professionals who, some of there are still finding their way, others are very established in what they do. Like I said, we have a mix of all over the world, different industries, and it's a community. It's a very diverse ecosystem that is so supportive, and that is the differentiating factor. I know people talk about pods, people talk about other communities. I'm not dissing. All I'm saying that our community, the Hounds of Business, thank you, Mike Asherbanner, for starting this, is a community of rock stars because we lead with heart, We lead with purpose and intent to make a difference in this world, to leave a legacy of kindness, of love and peace. Despite of what's going out there in the world, with sometimes, there's so many negative things that are going out in the world, but we are trying to be the change. We're trying to make the difference for people to live the best lives that they can, the best quality of life. You're talking about, healthcare, tech industry, legal, gosh, so many different industries, leadership, coaching. Tanya was one of those, personal branding, and digital media. Shout out to Brilliant Being Media, and it's been so enriching in my life. And I, I'll be remiss if I don't mention Sia Yasser Turner. She's in the comments, but it also brings in so many other people, like mental health, right? Walking Tall movement, for example. Shout out to you, Mr. Chris, and my brother. And it's important for us to be on a platform and be part of a community. So I'm not saying, hey, go to Hounds of Business. I would love for everybody to come to the community and check it out. But find your niche, find some, community that will support your dreams, that will rally around what you got going on, that will pick you up when you fall. And this is exactly what you get in this Hounds of Business community. So not to make it long-winded, it's just, I love it. I love it. And it has genuinely been life-changing. Without this community, I would not be where I'm at today. I would not be given an opportunity to other individuals to highlight their skills, to highlight their sets of whatever it is that they want to do for the world, services, books, products, nonprofits, whatever it is that they got going on. It's important for me to be able to give back. I always joke that, I was sitting in the back seat wasting away. I speak three and a half languages now. I'm forgetting French now, but it's just, how do I use my talents to best serve my community and the world? So, yeah, shout out to Walking Tall, as I said. Sia is my producer. So shout out to you. Love you. Put up with me every single day. I love you every single Saturday with Raquel's Connection Corner. So, but yes, that's what it is.
Outstanding. Now, I'm familiar with the Hounds. I know many of the members of the Hound, and and just astonished at what they can do, how they do it. And Mike obviously has done a great job and curating those that are joining and making sure that everybody's contributing. But thank you, Tanya, for that. And by all means, yeah, see it. Put a link in there to the Hounds. I see some people that are asking, hey, how do I join? Hey, put it in
Yes.
there. Make sure people get that click and join them now. It's amazing what they're doing, and just so proud of them. Now, Raqi, we share this thing called Hispanidad, siendo Latino, a lot from the Caribbean, South Central America, South America. It's just a huge, vast community of those that speak Spanish or were influenced by, you know, Spain in one way or another. Because even on the Pacific side, right, Spain had a lot of influence. The Philippines, Guam, you name it. They owned a lot of real estate at one time, and we share this commonality of being Hispano. It doesn't matter from what part of the world. As soon as we get into an environment and we start hearing that Spanish going, we're already interested in, hey, where they from, who are they. Sometimes we can even tell where they're from by their accent.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So so
Hmm.
this month we separate September 15th, October 15th, a whole month to celebrate what it is to be Hispanic. Pero para todos aquellos que estén allá afuera, estén uh, they're experiencing roadblocks. Because I tell you,
Hmm.
when I started early on in the military, there were a lot of roadblocks. It just was. Um,
Hmm.
and what has it been for you to be Hispanic? Being in Texas so long, to try to make it where you are currently. What was that like?
My goodness. Yeah. Like I said, I've been here in Houston for the last 30 years, and these have been some of the most rewarding years. But within that lived experience, yes, I've experienced challenges as any immigrant would, right? With learning the language, maybe not having all the resources available or cannot reach out for whatever reason. But it's been an enlightening journey, to be honest with you. You know, from going to college, from getting out of college, for actually while I was at A&M, I was able to experience traveling abroad. Once you really start seeing the world, it changes the lens, like it really does. And you start thinking more globally, you start thinking internationally, you start thinking impact. How can you make an impact in the world? But for me, I faced discrimination. Everybody does, right? Based on the looks, based on, okay, es latina. No sé, no sé, es una mujer de esas de que nada más grita y grita a lo loco y no dice nada y no hace nada. But at the end of the day, when they start realizing, right, that this may not match what I know and who I am, then la moneda cambia. Se
Mhm.
voltea la tortilla, like we say in Spanish, right? Things change. You flip a coin, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe let's see what she's about. So usually, I've been catalogada, para decirlo
Mhm.
así, labeled, because this society really has, I don't know why, but why do we have such a need to have labels that separate us instead of actually having things that bring us together, like come unity? It's one of my things. Siempre yo me pregunto, why can't we just get along? Like, why can't all of us just get along? Because there's always something for everyone. El sol sale para todos. You know, there's always extra bread on the table for one more person. There's always room. I always say that, but not to digress from the question. I experienced discrimination, experienced a lot of labels that I had to debunk, right, through education, through my own authenticity. Because at the end of the day, if you're not able to be you in front of the entire world, then are you even living? Then there's the for me there I was not living the life that I wanted to live for 10 years after I got out of college. Was, I married, got kids, wifey and everything, but my dreams literally were put in the back burner. My dreams to be a person, an advocate for my Latina sisters, for the people who have no voice, in the healthcare industry, for the elderly, for individuals with disabilities, whether they're intellectual, physical, psychological. I felt that my chances of coming out there and making a difference were hindered. And so I had to fight for that. And my question to this day, I continue asking is, why must I feel like I have to fight? So for me, leaving a legacy for my kids or leaving a world where they can feel they belong is imperative. So again, I mentioned that they're both bicultural and biracial. So just imagine being in a country that is such a huge melting pot, yet to feel that you cannot be you and still contribute back to the world in a positive way, it's kind of messed up. And so I definitely don't want my daughters to feel that way as they grow up, that they can pull from their both of their cultures, from the Dominican side, pull the positive things, from the Salvadorian side, pull the positive things and infuse it into the American culture, or the lifestyle. The United States, I know I say America, America's huge, but let's be politically correct. So it's one of those things that it's a passion of mine, is a desire to make sure that we leave an imprint of positivity. We lead with love and kindness and give back what we can to help el que está atrás.
No, bellissimo. You know, the reason, and I also saw the benefit of the book that we co-wrote, co-authored, is it's just that, right? None of my children will be ever able to say, "Oh, I can't do that." It's already been done. So, and by the
Hmm.
main Acosta, right? So now all the Acosta from here on out can do it for sure. And
Yes.
so, we tend to, I shared similar things. I did grow up in the Bronx, but like I mentioned earlier, yo nací en Puerto Rico. Mami se fue, y a los 5 años, that's when we go into the Bronx. But from then on out, it's funny because in the Bronx, you really didn't see too much discrimination.
Hmm.
The Bronx is basically the pot. It's just a pot, and
Yes.
everybody's in it. So
Hmm.
there really wasn't a too much discrimination there. I didn't see that till I went into the Navy.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I did not see discrimination until I went into the Navy, and that's crazy because
Yo no sé
but
si
it,
tú puedes hablar de eso, pero pues yo por eso me estoy quedando calladita.
no, y voy a hablar un poquito porque it's important. It's important to
Wow.
understand. So there are pockets in the states that discrimination is not a thing, right? Like I
Yeah.
mentioned, in my block we had everything and everyone, from Jews to Arabs to Indian to for every Hispanic flavor to everything. Es más, eran blanquitos que yo no veía tanto. So, in the Bronx.
But that's very telling. That tells you
Yeah.
a lot though.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Mhm.
So I did not encounter that the way I was and the way I was raised and who I was from or where I was from was an issue until I got into the military. My
Wow.
first 3 years, it was either one of these three things. Your English is not that good.
Mm,
And I'm like, I've been in a, I've been in the United States for pretty much all my life. What are you talking about?
yeah.
Or you have an accent that we can't understand. And I'm like, all my life I've been talking like this. What are you talking about? And then it became an obstacle because I was in a profession that required public speaking.
Mm,
So I was in meteorology and oceanography, and you had to brief, and you was briefing to admirals,
constantly. Yeah.
to the decision makers, right? So those first 3 years were very stressful
Yeah.
because not only did I have had to forget everything I learned as a civilian, now you're asking me to forget everything I learned as a Puerto Rican.
Mm, mm,
And I
mm.
was like, hold up, nobody else is up here asking nobody to leave what who they are,
You're being.
right, in order to be this thing that you want. And I was like, okay. So anyway, it was a battle. I overcame it by two things. And I'll say it probably wasn't the best thing to do. I was like, okay, that's the last time a
Mhm,
joker tells me about this.
mhm.
And then I chose to dedicate my time to reading the dictionary. And back then there was no little speaker that you clicked on and would tell you the word. No, you had to enunciate this thing and look at how it's pronounced. And so what ended up happening was I did become better,
Mhm,
a better person, a better a person that could do better.
mhm.
But I was bruised,
Yeah.
and it stood with me to wow. I could tell you
Yeah.
probably the whole time of the 26 years that I served,
Mm.
those bruises, it turned into something that was maybe not what I was designed to be.
Yeah.
Uh,
Not to digress or interact,
yeah, yeah.
interrupt what you were saying, Enrique. It's and that is part of also why I feel so passionate about being that role model or being that voice for that person behind me who may not know exactly what to do. Because just like you say you didn't have someone to support you. You didn't have someone there to tell you, Enrique, yeah, maybe that's not the way. Maybe you need to do this. You didn't have a guide or a mentor, right? And I felt the same way when I was going through my acculturation and assimilation process. Because me decían, ay, es que tú estás como, tú eres latina, tú eres mojada, wetback, right? So I was a wetback. But para mi comunidad latina o mi salvadoreña, no, tú eres muy gringa, te estás americanizando. So it was like I
Mm,
could never keep everyone content. And so I grew up, through my teenage years and through my young adulthood, I grew up thinking, oh my gosh, like ni de aquí ni de allá,
mhm,
literalmente, como la India Maria. Like I felt I wasn't American enough from the United States, and I felt I wasn't Salvadoran enough for some people. And but then came the point when I was like, enough is enough. I am going to be who I am, and if I cannot be who I am, then I'm gonna fight for it. And that's what I did. So I'm happy that you're bringing that up, because that's so many of us Latinos go through that identity. Like we go through some of those I guess doubts, and that we may not be good enough, and we continue like carrying that as a cross that we're not good enough. And I'm like, yo la única cosa que digo es, si tú eres tú al final del día y cuando tú te duermes y pones la cabeza en la cama y tú dices, ok, hice algo bueno y mi corazón está con regocijo, you've done it. If at the end of the day
Yeah.
you say, man, I did what I did today and I love it and this is my passion and this is what I'm going to go after. If you're happy, if you're full, if your heart is content, then you're doing it. You don't have to fit molds, you don't have to fit boxes, you don't have to fit labels. Screw all that. And yes, I'm very candid because I didn't come to LinkedIn to just to be another vanilla mold. No, I came to LinkedIn to stir the pot, but in a good way to start having these conversations, continue having these conversations. So even after Hispanic Heritage Month ends in a few days, we're still going to continue having these conversations because we must be the change to make that difference and impact in the world. Okay, necesito un
Yeah.
traguito o algo. Yo,
But
okay.
for the benefit of those that are listening, right? So I
Yeah.
don't want you to think that this is a white thing because when I was in the military first, yeah, it was because the majority of the people in my community, they were white. So it was a white thing. But I've suffered that in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back to Puerto Rico. Look, I was born there and I was there till I was 5 and then I went back and graduated out of high school in Puerto Rico. But I would go to Puerto Rico and I would be considered de allá fuera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So even among my own people, I'm not good enough. you know, I'm not part. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just how people are, right? The point of me bringing that up is that regardless of who it is doing it, the buck stops with you.
Yep.
What you allow, you can expect. Right, and so
Yep.
you we had to do something different. I chose to educate myself and
Yes.
become better, to sometimes to a fault, and I'll tell you about that little uh, uh, I became so obsessed with not allowing someone else to treat me that way
Mm-hmm.
that I was either number one or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not stop till I was number one, or I wouldn't stop till I was the first. I would start looking for things where I would be the first because you're gonna know my name, and
Mm-hmm.
so something that it kind and though in that aspect, I kind of went astray because who cares if you're number one? That do they remember you 15, 20 years from now? Probably not.
No.
But if you impact a life, you will.
Exactly.
They'll be telling your grandkids about you,
Yes.
right? And so that's where it really counts.
And that's where it really matters to me
Yeah.
and that's why I and in that point we do see eye to eye because yes, okay, we've gone through crap in the past, we've gone through whatever negative experiences we've had, but what are we doing now? Are we sulking in those moments or are we actually using those moments to be a catapult for us to actually do something about it? And so sometimes when I look at some of the Latinos who are like, I que no puedo hacer esto, que no hablo inglés muy bien, que me dicen que tengo acento, that I have an accent. So what? Rock it. Use that, leverage it. Don't use it as a negativity. So with me, English is my second language. And sometimes because I think in so many different languages in my head, I may stutter what I'm trying to say. And I'm just like, ugh. So I'm self-conscious about that. But guess what? At the end of the day, that is my forte. That is my gift. That is my talent. Que nadie me lo puede quitar. Nobody can take that away from me. And see, and that's what makes me who I am. So we need to stop comparing our journeys to other people because we are our unique self and we need to dive deep within ourselves and really exploit and explore our gifts and talents and what we can bring and utilize those to bring the positivity and change to the world. And I keep telling, for example, you talk about the book, book right there. So I was told when I reached out to this specific person, I was like, man, I have a dream of like being an author, like having my name out there, memorialized, like in life, like just anybody can search Raquel Flores, any book. And they were like, that's not for us. Okay, that's not for us. I'm like, what do you mean that's not for us? That's for other people, white people. And I'm like, That is when I realized I was not in the most conducive ecosystem for me to grow
Hello.
personally, professionally. And I said, I must remove
Oh yeah.
myself from this ecosystem or that ecosystem.
Yep.
Uh, and sometimes it includes family and friends,
Hello.
but you have to make that, you have that courageous choice, because it was difficult for me. And I said, where do I see myself in 5 years, in 10 years? What change and impact do I see myself having in the world and in my community? And so what do I have to do now to change it? So I did that. I removed friends, I removed some family members who are just toxic leeches,
Yeah.
who will not allow you to grow because they don't want to see you grow, they want to keep you there anchored. So I told myself when I was literally, 30, that generational curse is going to stop with me. It is not going to continue. I'm going to cut the chains to that anchor that keeps me back there. I'm going to move forward only with the most positive aspects of my culture and my upbringing. And I will utilize those to inspire other individuals, to inspire other Latinos to speak up. We all have talents. We all have authenticity, traits, marks, gifts that make us who we are, and we need to start using them in our professional lives. Be you. If you cannot be you, you're not living. You're not living your fullest potential and the best version of yourself. That's what I gotta say about
Amen. Hey, there's gonna be crabs in the bucket, right? It's just gonna be, and you just have to know how to put some sticky stuff on you, on your claws and get out of that thing.
that. Se
But
rebalen.
you remind me, Raqi, of a acquaintance we know, a dear brother to me, Coffee. Coffee,
Coffee.
he shared a story with me. He says, "Hey, um, I remember back, and he was in the jungle. He was, dirt
Hmm.
floor. And he said, I was in my village and I looked up and there was a plane that passed by, and I was like, "What's that?" And he said, he asked his dad, and he said his dad said, "That's not for us, son.
Mm.
The brother is a pilot." So talk about sticking it. Yeah,
Stuck
that's
it.
not for me. I'm gonna get in it and I'm gonna fly them jokers. So you have to be the person. You have to be the person
Yep.
that says, "Not for me."
Change that narrative.
What? He flipped it. And not only did I get on one, I'm flying one.
And
Um,
put
you know,
flip it and put a bow on it and tie it. Seal
amazing,
it.
amazing, and he continues to amaze me of the things that he is uh turning up, and all the stones he is turning upside down and accomplishing. I'm so proud of that brother. So Raqi, we're gonna come to the close of this session, also the close of this festivities here in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
There are Hispanics that undoubtedly are gonna look at this, maybe now, who knows, 10 years from now, a
Yes.
video, right? They do a search for us and bam, there they go. What would you like to give in terms of advice, encouragement, for those that are coming into the United States now, those that have been here, maybe not 30 years, but maybe 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
finding it a little difficult to navigate because, hey, the world's just not easy, right?
No. Yeah.
What would you tell them at this point in time?
So that's a very complex question. And you know that it has so many different answers. But for me, fundamentally, what changed my life and was my ticket to what I call freedom and my liberation was education. Educate yourself, for God's sake. It will save your life, and this is why I am so passionate about being able to educate my Latina sisters. And one of the reasons, main reason too, is teenagers, Latina teenagers, because they don't feel seen, they don't feel validated, they feel left out of everything that is going on in the world. They have the highest rate of dying by suicide, and it's heartbreaking to understand because I was there at one point, right? Mental health is so important in our communities. We need to start having these conversations and saying, hey, you know what? It's okay not to be okay. So reach out, always reach out to a mentor. Find someone who can guide you. Do not feel alone. So I know I gave a lot there, but to me, education, being able to have a mentor within your community and outside of your community as well, who is going to be positive about what your vision is, what you got going on, not detracting or taking away from it. If you just get away from surrounding yourself from toxic people, or just negativity in general, that is not going to be conducive to anything positive. If you have dreams, go after them. Yes, I know it sounds very cliche, Enrique, but it is the reality. You have to have courage to step up for yourself, speak up for yourself, and speak up for that inner child in you who had dreams. Go back and say, inner child Raquel wanted to be a doctor. Why? Because she ties it back to trying to save all those wounded people from the war, seeing all those deaths, seeing all that blood, seeing all everything, all the craziness from the war. I thought being a doctor could save the world. So I put that in my head that when I came to this country, I wanted to become a doctor, an MD, helping people. And it turns out that at the end of the day, maybe that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an advocate for people, to advocate for peace, for love, for kindness, and to give back to the world in a positive way, to make communities that are more embracing of diversity. So that was maybe my avenue, and that's what I'm working towards it. But yes, I will become a doctor, an MD one day. I still have it within me that I want to, because the desire to make a difference in the world doesn't stop. So to make it short, make sure you remain true to yourself, to who you are authentically, because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself, and only you have to put up with yourself. So if you're lying to yourself, then you're going to be miserable. So when is it going to be your turn? When is it going to be your chance?
Absolutely. And I love that you bring up mentorship. There is a book that just came out. It's been released. I'll pull it up on the screen now. But the Latino Leadership Playbook. If you want to talk about strategies and overcoming, taking folks' life and their mentorship points out of this book and helping you get forward in life a whole lot easier. This is the book that you need to look up. It's on Amazon. You can look it up and find it there. Get your copy. I happen to be a co-author in that book. Ref did a great job in on that project as well. A lot
Yes.
of the co-authors will be on developing the Leader Within podcast here next year, which, oh, by the way, is only about 6 people shy of being fully booked for
Wow.
2024. That
That
is
is
that
amazing.
blows my mind. Every year it gets booked out early. So if you're out there, I got some spots in November and December next year. If you
Look
want to
at
be on,
you.
get on there. But thank you for bringing up mentorship. Mentorship, folks, is
Yes.
is one of those things. If you don't have, man,
Yeah.
if you don't have one, oh my goodness, please go get one. Get one
Mm-hmm.
that is, and this is how I suggest it, get one that is below you to keep you grounded,
Mm,
because sometimes we get ahead of ourselves.
mm, mm,
Get one ahead of you in your next position. Get one that's in your future.
mm-hmm,
Get one that's in your future. Who is that? You know,
mm-hmm.
Raqi, you better have a doctor as a mentor, like right now. Go get him, go get her, get a doctor as a mentor, develop that relationship. You won't ever understand how that end up, but they're in your future, right?
Yep.
That's your goal. Get one there. And
Yep.
if you could do that, at least 4 or 5, I got like 5. I know I got 5.
Yes.
And they're at all stages of life. And I use that little breakdown because we all go through that. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we're ahead, sometimes where we are, sometimes we're below, and you have to do that. So mentorship is so important, especially in the Latino world. That there are folks. Look at my pocket. There are folks that are leading
Mm-hmm.
franchises. They have like
Mm-hmm.
100 of them, right? And you would say, what? They came
Mm-hmm.
in through the illegal process. They just did. They came in for a better chance.
Mhm.
and then they made it and they got naturalized and they become citizens, and now are doing great things. Look at those folks, find those folks,
Yep.
and just get on the coattail and say,
Yeah.
I want to learn from you, these things that made you successful in life. So
Yeah.
wonderful suggestion. um
Yeah.
what are you working on? What's next? Because I
Woo.
know you're about to fly out.
Yes.
And where can people find you to connect with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here on your show. And it's amazing. I hope the audience walks away with, with something valuable, at least if it inspired you to make a change within the community, within yourself, and to be that light carrying the torch for somebody else or for a group. Then my job is done. Our job is done as a collective. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn, live and breathe LinkedIn all the time. Maybe they should start paying me because I'd be repping them like no joke, like everywhere. And but as Raquel Raqi Flores, and that's why I put the Raqui there because there are other Raquel Floreses there. But I also have my own live stream every Saturday. You'll find me at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Gosh, I always get myself with that. 10 Central. And, where I highlight individuals like amazing Enrique here, leader, coach, executive, just amazing people who are doing fantastic things for the world. I want to give back. I want to be able to give back to those who may not feel seen, who may need a more visibility for what they're doing because I believe in their efforts. So, doing that and working on my own book. It's called Culture Clash, talking about, my life story and just concising everything up to my lived experience in the last few years post-pandemic. So other than that, you'll find me in the Hounds of Business community. I'm an active member there, one of the Hounds leader. And if you don't, then connect with Mike Asher-Banner. He is the leader of the Hounds. I call him the fearless leader. And working with different Brilliant Being Media with Cia Yasser Tormrak and different projects that we have going in the background. Also with the foundation, the Walking Tall movement. Shout out Chris Malazewski, Tom Lylevin, and Dr. Renella Rosa for, just continuing on with that effort that everybody, we really need to be able to help people highlight their stories and tell their stories so that they can walk tall. So yeah, you can find me here.
Outstanding. Well, folks, we have been hosting for the last month Latino leaders that are doing great things. I wanted to close out this segment, this month celebration with Raqi. Thank you so much for sharing your time, making the space for me. And folks, we're at the end of Aloha Friday Live. A couple of things I want to thank you for. Number one, we did get to 500 on YouTube. Thank you so much for supporting Developing the Leader Within. We are continuing to grow, so if you still like to be part of that, go to YouTube at dtlw.com or DTLW podcast, and you shall see the podcast show, all the different leaders that come on and how they are enriching us. If you'd like to support us on Parade Deck, we are streaming live on Parade Deck, a great community of military creators, and you can follow me on that address link. But it has been a total pleasure to host Raqi. Folks, Aloha Friday. It is the Navy's birthday, my son's birthday. I'm going to go on a mini vacation right after this, so don't call me because I ain't going to answer. But it's been great. Raqi, thank you so much. Folks, Aloha Friday. Mahalo for being with us, and God bless you all. Have a safe weekend, and return next week where we're going to be highlighting the Global Chamber of Business Leaders, their leadership and things of that nature. We'll see you then. Aloha and mahalo.